It's already circulating in the financial press in both the United States and around the world. After all, the economy, particularly after the stock market crashes of March 10th and 11th, suggests, as do other indices, that the US economy is in serious trouble. Capitalist economies in this country and around the world crash every 4 to 7 years on average. Every 4 to 7 years we have what can be called a crisis, a crash, a recession. We can't shake off this cyclical disease that capitalism has had for 300 years, has had despite all efforts to get rid of it. Capitalists fear that every 4 to 7 years on average, millions of people will suddenly lose their jobs, tens of thousands of companies will go bankrupt. It's really bad and some of them are terrible. The Great Depression of the 1930s, the so-called Great Recession of 2008, and even the last one we had in 2020, the crisis we named after the COVID-19 crisis, which was very severe, shows that we have not escaped this disease, which is very present. Last week, the Federal Reserve Bank in Atlanta, Georgia, issued a report indicating that its economic team believes the United States would have a recession by 2025, and that our economy would fall by 2%, maybe 3%, which represents $1 trillion in production that we won't see because people are unemployed and businesses are in crisis. On Sunday the 9th, President Trump was asked in a television interview if he could rule out a recession, and he said no. That was all investors needed to hear, and they began to withdraw at 9:30 a.m. Monday morning, when the stock market opened, with big tech leading the pack. It's an interesting phenomenon because it's generally considered one of the most profitable and productive industrial sectors still left in the American economy. But their stocks lost. In some cases, most of them, due to the instability of capitalism, the fact that we're due for a recession because if the last one was in 2020, and we have one on average every 4 to 7 years, the next one is now in 2025. This is part of the system that Mr. Trump has pledged to preserve, so I guess we have the cycles. Mr. Trump has been the extreme economic policymaker. One day we're hitting Canada and Mexico with tariffs, the next day we're not. 2 days later we're raising them and then exempting some industries from them for a while, maybe until the end of the month, maybe for a long time. We're going to hit Europe with steel and aluminum, or who knows, no company. That will make all the big players hesitate, and we'll all suffer a recession because of it. And there's one more aspect of our economic situation that plays a role. American leaders don't like to face it, don't like to talk about it, and they try to deny it, which only makes it worse. It's the fact that the American empire is in decline. Before we lost the Vietnam War, we lost Afghanistan, we lost Iraq, and we're losing Ukraine. That's the reality. We can't do what we used to do during much of the post-World War II period, when the United States was the overwhelmingly dominant economic, political, and military power. We're not anymore. There's simply no way to fake it. The People's Republic of China has not only matched us, it has surpassed us, and continues to do so. It is growing 2 or 3 times faster than the United States and has done so for the past 30 years without interruption, including up to this point China and its allies, the BRICS, which are a larger economic unit than the United States and its G7 allies. The United States and its allies have 700 military bases around the world. No one else comes close, but we're not what we were. We're in decline and the growing economic power lies elsewhere, and that's on the minds of every stock market investor. Worried about how bad this is going to get, how long it will take, how deep the fall will be? Am I taking a risk by holding stocks? The answer is yes, and if I see the first sign of panic, I'll get out before the next one. Mr. Trump is doing nothing at the moment to change that, and perhaps he'll introduce huge tax cuts for corporations and the wealthy, hoping that by flooding them with money, the money will trickle down in all directions. But these trickle-down prospects never materialize. The money stays up there with the rich and powerful. We live in times of great uncertainty, great change, and great decline.